I wanted to ask you, so for you personally, what does being an introvert mean to you?
Being an introvert is more about your natural tendencies and what you actually want to do. If you spend more time wanting to socialize and proactively wanting to find places, to find people to socialize, then that puts you in the extrovert category. Because you can be a quiet person, but when you're in social interactions, you're extroverted in that the social interactions are something you want more of. You're actively looking for them because that's your sort of fuel, if you will. Do that. I'm the complete opposite to that. The last thing I want to do is book to go on a conference or arrange a coffee meetup somewhere with a group of people or go to a networking event. There are people that are proactively doing those things and want to do those things, and it gets them excited to do those things. Not me. But you can be extroverted and quiet. So I think that it's more about what social interactions do for you. Well, because there are loads of people that are quiet, but they're extroverted when they're at events and they love the events. They get all giddy and excited. So I think it's trying to decide whether you're a quiet extrovert, an introvert. Because you can love socializing, but be reasonably quiet. So I think it's having that difference. But for me, it's about what the social interactions do. Are you actively searching for them because it's something that you actually want to do? As an introvert, I'm pretty high on the introvert scale, so I don't do any of that. I don't get excited for a meetup. I've not been on a conference ever. I've been to like 2 networking events and I hated both of them. And it's not something my brain doesn't get to that space where I want to do it.
Yeah. Like reading your book, I think that's what I found interesting, because I wanted to ask you, like, do you think people are, or they become introverts, or, is it nature versus nurture?
I think personally, as someone that's I was loud when I was little, and between conditioning and society and all of those other things put me in that box, and I just felt safer in that box than coming out of it. Having said that, I think it comes down to preferences that become habits. So it's something you prefer, and then it becomes normal. But it's difficult. The answer really is both, isn't it? It's you're born with certain tendencies and preferences, and you just repeat them often enough so that they become who you are. Everything, unfortunately, it doesn't matter what it is. So I for better or worse, the answer is both.
No, that makes sense, because it was making me question as well. It's like, was I like this, or was I always like this? Did something change? Or so, and actually that I think there's a point where you say it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, you're going to be nervous, but you can handle it. And I did find that really interesting, because it's that's, I find, as an introvert, or maybe it isn't an introvert, I'm not sure, but you get a lot of sort of negative self-talk, because everyone expects the world to be extroverts. So how did you sort of manage to create like a positive self-dialogue to overcome like situations?
It was in the moment, because negativity tends to be your go-to. It's your instant thought. If it's something you've never done before, something that's particularly stressful, like speaking on stage for the first time, I think expecting a positive self-talk initially is part of what causes a lot of negativity around it. because we're expected to be positive all the time. We're
Mm.
expected to be, you know, like I'm in the personal development field now, and you know, some people think I'm supposed to be this positive, larger than life person because for about an hour a day, I am that person. The rest of the time, I'm not. So there is an expectation of positive self-talk will get you to do it.
Mm.
To a certain extent, yeah, but it's like tug of war. Sometimes positivity is winning, sometimes negativity is winning, sometimes positivity pulls harder, or someone on the positivity side loses their grip and negativity has a hand on the situation and they start winning.
Mm.
Sometimes the only way is to do it no matter how you're feeling. If you're excited, great, that's a bonus. In my world, that's a bonus. You know, in the world of like doing things that push you, that test you, that challenge you, if it's exciting,
Yeah.
great. That's like, they're like the bells and whistles on the top of a cherry on top of a cake. If I'm worried or scared or worried what people might think, or I want to do well, I want to do good, you know, I don't want to ruin this thing. That's just as natural. You've never done it before. You want to do a good job. Of course you do. I think there's a combination of expecting us to think positive in bad situations. It doesn't seem right, does it? It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem natural for that to be the starting point. But having said that, it's a conversation with your head essentially that allows you to change it. It allows you to flip it in the moment. It's about
Yeah.
asking yourself the right questions. Because I've had moments when I'm asking myself, why me, right? Worst question you can ask, why me? Because it's a question you don't want the answer to. Why?
Mm.
Well, you're little, you've never done this before, you're not particularly confident. Look at the way you sound. I mean, what are you doing? It's you don't want the answer to why me.
Mm. Definitely.
To that. And unfortunately, your brain answers the questions that you ask it. So if you scream at the world and shout, why me? Why is this happening to me? You are not going to like the answers. But if you go, okay, well, how can I do my best with this? How can I make the most out of this situation? What would like the best version of me actually do? How would they show up? Even if that's scared, you know, I don't remember my first talk I gave on stage because I was that nervous. I was struggling. I don't remember what I said. I mean, I think people laughed, but that was about it. So that's because I was so nervous. I was shaking. I couldn't think properly. All I could see were the eyes staring at me. That was horrible, absolutely horrible. And unfortunately, this is the thing, and why I wrote the book was I still did it though.
Mm.
So of all of the, oh, this is difficult, or all the eyes are looking at me, be people that didn't or wouldn't go on stage because they felt that way. There'll be people that judge themselves very harshly for not thinking positive in that situation, and all the emotions will build up and you'll shut down. You won't do it. You run away scared. You'll flee the scene, right? And you won't want to do it. And the truth is I've only got to where I am because I've acted scared.
Mm.
I mean, you've read the book, right? You're aware I was a mess. For at least half of the book, I was a mess. And from the outside looking in, you wouldn't tell, because at the end of the day, acting scared is how you make progress. If it was easy, you don't learn from your wins.
No. True.
You learn from the mistakes because you'll know what to do differently. If you're winning all the time, you've got no reason to change. You've got no reason to grow. You've got no reason to do anything differently. If everything's a win, if everything's a yes, if everything's an amazing opportunity for you, why do anything different?
Mm. Definitely. Definitely. And actually, that sort of brings me on to, so do you think like introverts generally lack self-confidence, or are there confident introverts? I know there's confident introverts, but do you find like the baseline tends to be just lack of self-confidence?
One of the things that I have noticed, and this has only happened when I've been diving into the world of podcasting, is some people are self-aware enough and self-conscious enough to have conversations before they take action, or they have the same conversations after they've taken the action. What does that mean? Well, I had a conversation with myself about audio quality, about equipment, about all of those other things before I started my show, which meant it slowed me down. It took me a full year before I started my podcast because I was procrastinating, overthinking, wanted to be perfect. Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, then. If you need some water, get some water, definitely.
I do actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that came out of absolutely nowhere. Sorry. Yeah. So you can have the conversations beforehand, and that can slow you down. Or you start doing it, you start taking the action, and then you start to have the same conversations. So I don't know if it's an introvert or extrovert thing, but some people are more self-conscious than others. Some people are more self-aware than others. Now, self-awareness is a helpful thing until it's not. It's like being self-aware of your voice can make you hate how you sound, and then you don't do it.
Yeah.
People that are less self-conscious don't have that because they're unaware of how they sound. Would sound to other people. So self-awareness is helpful to the extent where it's not, and it actually starts to become a hindrance if, this is a big if really, if you don't know how to improve it. Aware of something that you don't like or that you would like to be able to improve on, and you don't know how to improve on it, that's a difficult situation to be in.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, and there's a point where it's interesting because I think we're quite similar in the terms of like we've got a lot of ambition. So even though we're introverted, it didn't stop us for trying to do lots of other things. And but the thing is that you get really stressed after a while, especially trying to interact with people all the time. So like, how do you find a balance as an introvert to succeed, like while maintaining your mental and physical health as well? I totally understand. I've got those physical health issues as well, and it can be really tiring. So what do you do?
What do I do? I understand that on a bad day, I have to cancel stuff. I have to rearrange stuff. I have to take a day. I have to not be on camera. I have to not do anything. If I have a bad day, all right, my maximum today is typing on a keyboard and doing admin. So I cancel stuff if I have stuff on. I move things to text instead of video if I have to. And the rest, I come up with a pretty decent excuse. Having a bad day, feeling under the weather, I can't do the podcast interview today. Is there any chance we can rearrange? No one said no yet, thankfully. No one said no yet. Now, I have had one say, we have to rearrange it in the future. We can't rearrange it right now. That's fine. I make a note of it and then we move on. I think balancing that with my very, very, very strong desire to not let people down is a chess game that I hopefully win more than I lose because I don't like letting people down. I really don't. I've put myself in debt to help people financially because I previously agreed to do it. Bank balance, and I go, looks like I'm phoning the bank to organise an overdraft because I don't like letting people down. I really, it actually, like, I start shaking. I can't, horrible taste in my mouth, and my stomach just starts to, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Really, really hurts me to let people down. And the only limit that I have is physically can't do it. So if I physically can't do it, I have to accept it. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because if I can, I will. If I can't, I don't have a choice.
No.
So when the choices are taken away from me, I have to accept it. And that's difficult for someone like me. But I have to. I've got no choice. When the choices are taken away, the choices are taken away. If I have a choice, if I can drink more caffeine, if I can go for, I mean, I've done interviews at like 11 o'clock at night because I've agreed, all right, I'm having a bit of a bad day. I'll take the morning off, right? Because it's not until 11 o'clock. So I've got most of the day to prepare for that. I can cancel a couple of other things, spend a bit longer like outside, go for a walk, all those things. It becomes a self-care day to prepare myself for something that I've previously agreed to because I don't like letting people down. And it depends. It's things that I need to do, things that I should do, things that I probably could do, and then things that I want to do, and then things that I could probably move to a different day.
Definitely.
The more physically challenged I get, the only things that are left on the diary are things that I need to do. If I can move it, it's moved. And that's my only limit. That's my only thing. Balancing it and being an introvert and all those things, the more physically fueled I am, the negativity doesn't really show up all that much. Everything from, getting rejection, told no, can't do something, maybe next month, all those things, it doesn't hit me at all. It bounces off me straight away if I feel good in myself already.
Yeah.
Start to hate the person if I'm already drained, already tired. I absorb negativity more if I'm already in a negative space. Doesn't even touch the sides. It genuinely doesn't even, I don't even think about it if I'm in a good place. I go, oh, I don't know, this magazine's turned you down. Fine. I feel great, doesn't matter. But if I'm having a day and the same thing happens, different story. And I wallow and oh my God, I'm a hopeless loser. How on earth can I? So that's based on how you feel first, determines how these things impact you. Now, socializing does drain me. Careful of that. I've got to be aware of that. I've got to set my own boundaries. I've got to set limits. 4 is a crowd for someone like. So if I'm at a party, I stick to the outside of the party. I talk to people one at a time.
Yeah. That sounds familiar.
If people want to congregate and I feel like it gets above like 3 or 4 people, I have a bit of a weird running excuse. Either I have to go to the bathroom, or I say, well, someone else said it before me. Because very often somebody else will say what I'm thinking about saying before I get the opportunity to butt in, essentially, and say it. Because no one's going to give you an open invitation to talk.
No.
So when you do that, if you go, okay, well, someone else has already said it, so I don't need to say it. I don't want to repeat what somebody else said. I was spending half of my time thinking about what to say and then realizing somebody else has said it. That's how I tend to socialize. Online's different. It's text, it's calls, it's messages, it's comments. that doesn't really feel like socializing.
Yeah.
So I can do it all day. Once it gets to a certain point, I've genuinely had enough. And I turn my phone off and I go, just leave me alone. I just can't do this anymore. So I've it even with social media. But for the most part, I set boundaries on offline stuff.
Good.
And online stuff, because it's online, it feels a bit weird. So I can do more of that, but it's still like eventually I'm just like, no, I can't keep doing it. I can't keep up. I've got to turn my phone off. There's no hope. I've done enough, done plenty. It's fine. We won't get done today. It'll get done tomorrow. And you just got to accept that you've passed your point. You've passed it. You've got to stop.
Yeah. I find like, especially as an introvert, what happens is because we tend to be listeners, it makes you overly empathetic. And that's partially why it's hard to say no to people. But I always find that I get very overwhelmed and very overstimulated by other people. So how do you generally deal with that sort of ridiculous level of empathy?
It's a constant battle. And I say this as someone that can randomly cry at films.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
And I'm like, why? What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
It catches me off guard. I'm like, what are you doing? What possible reason could you have? But anyway, it was hard to point. It's a bit real because it happened to me last night, and I'm like, oh my God, you complete nutcase. What are you doing?
Every time, if I see someone cry, I will cry. It's just a complete, like, it's become a habit. If I see anyone cry, I will cry. So I totally understand.
Happens to me over text messages. There could be no emojis on the text message. None. I don't know how they're feeling. But if it's bad, I don't even know how I know. Sometimes, like, you weirdo. But in terms of how to deal with it, it's not something you can really prevent. There's no like prevention measure for it. One of the things that you get better at is getting past it and getting to the other side. It used to knock me out for days. Now it's a day. If it's really bad, it's a day. If it's a little thing, it's like a couple of hours and I'm back to my old self again.
Yeah.
So it depends on what it is.
Oh God, it's awful.
That's part of the issue is there's no one size fits all. It's everything's a nail and I've got the hammer. I've got the tool for every situation. It doesn't work that way. So sometimes a walk is enough. Sometimes just me throwing a good song on that I like is enough. Other times it's a day off and I've completely flattened by this thing that I thought was innocent enough. Turns out, nope. So I've got to go for walks, music, exercise, meditate. I get all of the toolkit out and I go, this is your day. And that's tough to deal with. It's forward. The unpredictability of it is difficult. And I'm aware I'm pretty high on the spectrum of both of those things. From introversion to empath to
HSP, highly sensitive person.
I think so. I put myself in that category, and it's not. It's even with the pandemic. I mean, my friends would message me and go, "Is it just me, or do you feel a little bit deflated today?" I've been deflated for 2 weeks. I've been like, are we ever going to get out of this thing? And my brain's like, and my friend would go, well, we're taking on the energy of like the whole planet. How weird's this? And I go, I know. And you know what makes it worse? And she goes, what? I don't watch the news.
Yeah, exactly.
And my friend's literally like, so where the hell did you get this from? I've got no idea. I've literally got no idea. It's only happened since the pandemic, so we're like, what, 14 months?
Yeah.
Give or take, as of recorded anyway. And yeah, you can't, there's no like, okay, let's try and prevent this. You sometimes try to force it and it actually gets worse.
Yeah.
It's like you try to prevent the negativity just gets stronger.
Yeah.
You put your foot on a lion's throat, you can't get it off.
No.
He's going to chew to pieces. So once you go down this road of not experiencing negativity, and you go down this road of trying to prevent it or trying to repress it or suppress it or any of those things, same with any emotion really, it will get stronger. But very often, as soon as you are aware of it and you essentially stare at it, right, for want of a better expression, once you go through it, you realize it's not actually real. Rare that you are fully aware and you fully break down the negativity and why you're feeling it, what's going on. The hold that it has gets more, it actually gets less. So it's been difficult. I've had to go through so many different emotions, so many. I mean, I'm not massively literate either, as in like I'm a guy of not many words. So half the time I don't even know what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to describe this? I've got no idea. All I feel is white noise. That's kind of what it feels like. And I just wait for it to go away. and I carry on. You know, it doesn't color all of my decisions. It doesn't ruin my life. But very often it's a lesson in acceptance to a certain degree. It's a lesson in not repressing it, not suppressing it, not letting it take over, trying your best not to hold on to the emotion either. And that's why we do like mindset work every day. That's why we do active releasing sessions every day. And that's why a lot of it is emotional intelligence comes first. Knowing, as I said before, awareness can be a dangerous thing without the next step. And after awareness is knowing what to do about it. You can be aware of something, but not have any idea how to navigate it. And that makes you worse off because you're also how little you can do about it, which is very disempowering. How it becomes empowering is you actually go to the next step and go, right, what can I do about this? How can I navigate this? What tools are out there can I use that can help me get through it? Because without that, starting the journey isn't enough, unfortunately. Self-awareness isn't enough. It's like being stuck on train tracks and staring at the train coming towards you. You feel better if you're facing the other way. You do. If all you can do is hear it, oh, it seems to be getting closer, and then it smacks you, it's actually easier to not see it coming than to be staring directly at it for about, well, if the train tracks are long enough, it could be days.
Yeah.
You're staring at it in the station and you're shaking. You can't move, and it starts off slowly, and you get agitated because you can't move off the tracks. And you're staring at it for days until it actually knocks you over. If you weren't aware. So self-awareness is dangerous in the wrong hands.
Yeah, it definitely is. But we've talked about like introversion in a sort of almost a negative way. But I think there's a lot of positives to it. So like, how do you use your trait as a superpower?
Well, listening has become a bit of a profession for me. I'm a coach. I help people. I'm in the self-improvement field. So listening has helped me give people the best possible solutions. A lot of people try to help people without listening first. And they assume that they know what the problem is. But if you listen, they'll tell you what the problem is. And 9 times out of 10, the solution's staring right at them. They just can't see it. So listening, being quiet, letting other people speak has let me become a better helper, coach because of it. Because I don't, when people try to help you without really knowing what's going on, and you've got friends who, I'm only trying to help. You don't really know what's going on. So how can your advice be anywhere even close to helpful? They just want to do their bit, right? And you've got to accept that they're not going to be as good as someone that's let you listen to them properly. That's just the way the world is. And that's what it's allowed me to do. It's allowed me to really drill down into what the issue is, and then the solution will present itself. So introversion for me has become, it's almost like my gift. So coaching's amazing. My podcast is different because I sit and listen, let them say everything they want to say, share any stories they want to share, and then I chime in. Because if I tried to ask them a question, they could have answered it if I'd let them speak and I shut up. So by me shutting up, they answer all the questions that I would have asked them anyway. But it stops being about me. With loads of people, and what I keep coming back to is it's not about me. It stopped being about me. And I get that from helping people since I was about 16, and I realized that helping people makes me feel like my life was worth it. But to do that, you need to know everything about the problem. You need to know everything about the person, everything about the situation. Otherwise, because nothing's as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4. If your solution doesn't factor in friends and family, it's not really a solution. You'll rub up your friends and family the wrong way if it isn't done properly. A lot of the things that I've come across is we don't live in our own little planets. We interact with everybody. So the solution has to also factor that in. Like when I used to help people lose weight, it was right, well, family eat this way isn't something they would normally think about. They just come to personal trainers to tell them how to eat. Could your family actually eat this way? If the answer is no, don't do it. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be the only person in the house eating a particular way. Do you realize how weird that would be? So that's something that we talk about. The solution has to be as considerate and compassionate as what got them in the problem to begin with.
And so, what would you recommend to other introverts who are also trying to make an impact?
One of the hardest things to do is to reconcile the fact that what works for you is almost against the grain of what works for everybody else. So we were discussing social media the other day, and as introverts, we don't need the followers, but we also don't want them. So striving for followers doesn't do us any good. Having meaningful conversations does. And if you're a business owner, if you want to impact people's lives, if you want to change the world, Facebook post isn't going to do it. Having a meaningful conversation with someone will. So that actually is in our favor. It's not what society has told us to do. It's not what social media has told us to do. But that's the thing that we battle against. We battle more against the culture of social media. We battle against more of what most people value, more so than what works for us. Because we know what works for us. We live that way. We live with the problems all the time. The issue is from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like we're doing as good a work. If you've got 1,000 people that follow you, someone with 10,000 you compare yourself to. Someone with 200,000 or 2 million you compare yourself to. How can they be doing, how can you be doing better work than them? How can you be more impactful than them? without realizing that a follower isn't the same as a fan, isn't the same as a loyal follower, isn't the same as someone that's bought into you and what it is that you stand for.
Yeah.
Isn't the same as someone that messages you and says, "Oh my God, you changed my life."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I know this because I know someone's currently launching their book as well, and they're getting screenshots of people that are buying their book, which is great. But how many will read it? How many will be impacted by it? And how many messages will they get as a result of it? Who knows? Only time will tell. But it's better to impact less people deeply or in a more meaningful way than hundreds of thousands just by like a Facebook post.
Yeah.
I think people over exaggerate the power of like a social media picture of that nature without factoring in, you know, how few will actually be changed by that, you know? And as introverts, again, it actually works in our favor because we don't need to be loud. We don't need to be screaming from the rooftops for us to be satisfied. We just need to pick one person a day, you know? And, you know, they say that hope is helping one person every day.
Yeah.
And that's what I want in my book to bring. Hope to people that need to hear it. They need to feel like they can do it as well. Get there as an introvert by understanding that helping one person every day works in our favor, more so than screaming into the echo chamber and praying people will pay attention.
So it's more about meaningful impact.
Always, yeah.
Awesome, Michael. Well, I really appreciate it because, yeah, we whizzed through all of that, but I really appreciate it. Yeah, that was really, really eye-opening, actually. Quite helpful as well, especially speaking to other introverts. People tend not to admit they're introverted. Funny that. So yeah, it's nice to actually have this like proper open conversation about this topic. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. And it was eye-opening for me when celebrities come forward and go, yeah, I'm a performer, like when I'm on stage, but then that's it. And
Yeah.
I resonate with that because, you know, like today, maybe 2 hours, including this interview, I'm probably going to be in like loud mode, but there's still 22 other hours whereby I'm staring at the ceiling. I go for a walk. I listen to podcasts. I eat because I've got to eat. I message people. I maybe have a phone call or two, and that's literally it. I don't go, okay, I'm off here. Then I've got this meeting, and I've got this coffee. Then I'm ringing my friends, and it's like, no thanks.
No, it's too stressful. Too stressful.
Far too stimulating for that. And I'm at a point where just going to the shop and the shop being busy is stimulating enough. I'm like, oh, there's too many people in the shop.
Hate it.
And I'm bobbing around. I'm like, oh, where's the quietest aisle of the shop? And that's how I shop. And people go, oh, you can't possibly be an introvert. I'm more introverted than I care to admit. But when I'm in the situations that I'm in, I do my best to meet the expectations of the situations. So I can't be that person in this interview. I can't be that person when I'm on stage. I can't be that person if someone invites me to sort of, you know, like I think they're called like author signings or something at like a local school or something. I can't be the introvert cowering in the corner when I'm essentially the center of attention. As much as I don't like it, if you don't embrace it, you don't get the benefits. So do it to get the return that you want or the benefits that you want or the impact that you want to make. There's a level of acceptance that you need of, I can't be an introvert right now.
Yeah.
I've meet these expectations. Otherwise, to benefit. They're not going to benefit. So what's the point?
Yeah. Makes sense. God. Yeah. Tough life, but we do it anyways. Yeah.
A bit of a way to end. I'm sorry about that.
No, I appreciate it. No, I do appreciate it. No, thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much of your time as well. So I hope you get to enjoy the rest of your day in sort of quiet mode.
yeah, I will. And I hope it was helpful. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day as well.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.